Hello, everybody. This is Dr. Albert Snow for our regular weekly um, question and answer session where I answer any questions you have. Right now, it says we don't have any viewers here, which doesn't surprise me. I'm not that interesting, really. But I'll answer any questions you have, and also if there's just a general topic you want me to comment on, not a specific question, I'll do that too. And whenever I don't have questions, I always have a few subjects ready to talk about. Which I'm going to do now until we have some people who want to chat. Let's see. I wanted to talk about for my friend, one of my friends, by the way, reminds me, we're going to start handing out some nicknames here, well-deserved nicknames, so be ready. I'm very adroit at handing out the appropriate nickname. So first question I had before the show here today was powders. What is better to use, a powder or a capsule? Well, nutritionally, they're the same. People worry about, well, am I going to not absorb the capsule? I know one time when these time-absorbed capsules, time-released capsules, first came out many years ago, and they weren't done right. And I was taking them. I had stores then, and the company said, take them, here's free ones, and all that. So I swallowed them, and swallowed them like crazy. And they were supposed to be released over a matter of hours. Well, they didn't have that perfected, and they were just too thick, they didn't break down. So one time, looking out my back window, I see right where my septic system was for my house, I see these like tons of birds, pecking away at something. Jesus, a lot of worms over there. So I noticed that over the course of several weeks. Jesus, there's birds there. I mean, there's hundreds of them. And I finally go out, and they all took off, of course. And then I look, it was all the capsules from the time release that didn't get processed and digested. Now, some of you, I'm sure, have seen capsules come out maybe in your stool. That happens kind of rarely. These were like really inferior time release. That happens rarely. They make them out of stuff that is very easily digestible. But if you see that occasionally, it doesn't mean you're not absorbing them. The powder is better. Not for absorption, not for nutrition, but for quantity. You see, most of these nutrients, herbs, and nutrients like L-glutamine, amino acids, they really need to be taken in measurements like a half a tablespoon, 2 tablespoons, not this, 3 capsules, because you got to build you're building a brick wall. We're trying to. This is why I give an example. I'll pull this in here. Why things like homeopathy don't work for these conditions, and all the homeopaths are saying yes, it does. No, it doesn't. Here's why. When we take we need to plug a hole in our colon. We're going to need glutamine for one of those. Okay, so glutamine is like a physical, little brick. Okay, for instance, homeopathy is energetic. There's no physicalness there. You're not going to heal the hole in the colon by feeding it energy. That's good for all kinds of other things that the brick and mortar can't do. Okay, so when you're taking a capsule, if you have a really minor job to do, yeah, you take it. Maybe a little bit of maintenance is a good way to take the capsules. But when we're talking about patching a hole, you got to have, the minimum would be a couple teaspoons, But typically it's half tablespoon, or on up, not more than usually 3 tablespoons. But the reason I like it is for 2 reasons. One is the quantity. You have to, you're not going to heal this thing with, slippery elm capsules. You'd have to be taking, a fellow who worked for me once, who were doing it with oil. And for the dosage that I wanted, with a tablespoon of oil would require 32 capsules of the oil if we squeezed them out, And that's just not practical, because you're going to do that twice a day. And we might have to go up to 2 tablespoons twice a day. So that's the major reason. The other one is incremental. It's easier to go incrementally up or down with the powder, because you can just take a smidge off, of just a pinch off, and say, well, I'm going to take a little less, a little more, and work your way. A lot of people have sensitivities. They'll say, well, I have a couple of people out there, and they know who they are. They say, I can take only so much L-glutamine. And once they go over a threshold, but I'm not quite sure what the threshold is, so we want them to get the maximum they can, we go up in little smidges at a time. To just take a little more, and they might say, well, now I have the symptom I had. I think one of them was having a sleep issue when they took L-glutamine. L-glutamine is like really, really innocent. But I do have people occasionally say, well, I can't tolerate it anymore. A slippery elm is really innocent, except for you have people that say it gave me diarrhea. There's always this contrary thing. Well, you'll have a lot of people say, well, this is really good. There's never any problem except for you get that 1%. And I know they're legitimate. I never doubt anybody on there. A little more comment I want to make about like homeopathy. Great stuff, right? It's way beyond me. I know a little bit about it. But things like acupuncture, know nothing about it other than you can't heal that. And like chiropractic, you're not going to heal inflammatory bowel conditions. You might be able to take some of the edge off of pain. I don't doubt that at all. I think that's probably absolutely true. Inflammation, pain by using those. But no. Chinese herbology. I'm going to piss them all off today. Let's piss everybody off today. Okay? Chinese medicine. No. Why? Ayurvedic. Nope. Why? Tremendously legitimate, awesome. By the way, I tried this Chinese herbology. My God, I mean, talk about a headache. I just passed over that one. I said I'm not gonna bother with that one. Ayurveda is hard, but I did go with that because I was hanging out with some Ayurvedic masters, basically. And so Deepak Chopra, if you know him, he was teaching me Ayurvedic stuff that was he got from that Maharishi Mahesh Yogi TM. Well, I was hanging out with him. He was used to be in Massachusetts before he went big. And he was teaching methods in the back room there after work of how to do different methods of meditation stuff. And he taught me about some of these herbs. But Ayurvedic medicine, which is Indian, and Chinese medicine, those were developed over, probably millions of years, right? Amazingly effective, except for one category. They didn't anticipate antibiotics. They have nothing in there to match antibiotics. You can tell me, well, we take the yin and the yang. No. If you don't replace the mucosal lining, forget it. If you don't take the right substances that will build skin, fat, and muscle, forget it. Now, maybe there are some herbal combinations that can accelerate that. I don't doubt it, that once we put the raw material in place, like a conveyor belt. Sure, you might be able to speed the conveyor belt, maybe improve absorption. But the people who tell me that they were healed with Chinese medicine, no, it's going to come back. And you hardly ever hear me say something negative, but it's going to come back. And I hope I'm wrong. Prove me wrong. I'm not. I don't have any ego invested in it, but I see it all the time. The Ayurveda people, most of the people who come at me with Ayurveda, they're Indian, and they go back to India and they do great over there. And part of it, here's another factor: food. I'm famous for saying food has nothing to do with it, and I always said it wrong. I should have said food does not cause the problem. Okay? Food does not cause a problem. You can't eat your way into or out of inflammatory bowel. There's no diet's going to heal it. You can only manage it by things like low fiber. The Indian people, they go over there and they do well, and I'm going to remember my comment about food, and then they come home with hopes high, and then over time, days, weeks, usually not that long, they find out, well, it wasn't healed. They ran into a really good Ayurvedic doctor, and they did the best they could. Think about food. So it's going to amend, and I'm learning. I never have a problem admitting I'm wrong about something, and then, growing and learning, evolving. But food, I don't know how many people have told me they've gone home to Puerto Rico, they've gone to wherever they were from, and they said, "Geez, I did great when I go there. I don't change anything," so my answer is just kind of obvious. It's got to be in the food. They come home, down the tubes. Now, there's all kinds of things about Monsanto and all that. I'm not going to get into that. That's not my trip. That's someone else's trip. If you want to get into that trip, you go with Dr. Bush with the latest ion biome, whatever the hell it's called. He changes his name every weekend. Over the weekend, it's going to change again. What happens is that you something's in the food, in the water, or something that people start bleeding again or whatever, and that's not the whole story. I mean, I fix people who stay in the country, never leave the country, and all that, and nobody goes there and comes back and doesn't do good again. It's just that there is a factor there, and I'm not afraid to say that there's some factor I don't know. Again, I'm not into pursuing the gene manipulation of foods and things like that. That's just not my trip. I don't need to, because what I do works. So let's take some phone calls. Not phone calls. See, I did too much radio. Used to do radio. Somebody would, I'd no time delay. I like that. That's like walking a tightrope. People. I used to say hello, and they go fuck you. And we didn't have a time delay, and I just, I used to say it back. One time I'll never forget that guy kept calling in, and I challenged him to meet me in the parking lot. Meet me in the parking lot, motherfucker. I go back, there's like 8 guys, and I just said, hey, you're my fan club? So let's see, Saba Khan, who's one of the more prolific people who's just begging for a nickname, and we'll see what you say. Can I mix acacia, which is a type of fiber, Heather's tummy fiber. She's pretty well known. She's been around forever. She treats, I think, like mainly IBS, maybe more. Can I mix it with the probiotic colostrum mixture? Yes. Good idea. Acacia, is it a prebiotic? Okay, a bunch of answers in there. Good question. Acacia is sort of a really mild fiber, and a lot of people, it doesn't move the bowels that well. Some it does, and they want to use it when you have IBS, colitis, when you have irritation of the bowel wall, and you don't want to just throw some like a psyllium husk. Psyllium, by the way, is the leader. If you want gas, you want to blow the doors off the house, take psyllium. But yes, it's a good combination to take with probiotic and colostrum. All nutrients can be mixed together, all supplements, everything. That's the way. Nature didn't say this without that, but don't take this, don't take that. That came from the pharmaceutical world. We started measuring things. People say to me, how come you never talk about dosages? I say, well, I do. I say, take some of this and some of that. A tablespoon, milligrams. See, there's a thing called standardized extract, supplements. Companies, and it's a good thing, the companies have, they test supplements, and they take for which ones have the highest potency. Okay, and they found out that, geez, it's all over the place. You can get flaxseed, and boy, it's all over the place. And turmeric is probably the one they did the most research on. And they found out, geez, it depends on ginger or ginseng. How do you know what you're getting? So they take extracts, which is really like making a drug, and they put it in a capsule and say they guarantee it's got 65 blah, blah, blah living organism units. Okay, and I say, well, great, but how much do you need? Do I need 65? That's not the way to do it. You've manufactured a drug in the first place, okay? I sometimes prescribe them because of the effectiveness. Green tea, if I get time today, I'm going to talk about how to heal sinuses, allergy problems, okay, polyps, make polyps go away. Otherwise, it's going to be in our knowledge base. So you can mix everything together, and it's always good. And everything is in powder. If you have things in powder, throw it in there. So you can mix those together. That's a good combination. What else would I say about it? Nothing. That's a good question. I think I gave a good answer. Okay, Saba, you're really pushing me for a nickname. I don't know if it's going to have to be an Indian or not. I'll have to pull my Ayurvedic guide here and see what we got. See what the words are that I need. If able to acquire fresh colostrum, how much should I take? That kind of goes into my part of my prior answer. I saw a guy, and then a friend of mine did it on a bet. Crawl underneath a cow, kind of nudge the babies aside and just sucking away in that udder. He said it was delicious, and the farmer was there. He laughed his ass off. This is a deal where, the more the better for colostrum. If you can suck it all up, get it. Sometimes you can go to the farmer and get it. You got to catch them, when the calves are born. But, like a teaspoon, don't want to bother with. Tablespoon, you can get that. You want to drink it like a pint of it, If you can get it, it's not likely you're going to get it ongoing, because you got to find, things that are just after birth. But just suck it up, man. Drink a gallon of it. Okay, Maureen Rudder. I already have a nickname for her. I already have a nickname, and she knows what I'm going to say. Prolific lady. She writes the most wonderful, extremely long emails because she doesn't want to miss, because she's so into helping her daughter. She doesn't want to leave. Then she writes synopsis. Right, Maureen? Synopsis. And I told her, I said, I wish I was still an ink salesman, because I'd be selling barrels of that ink. She's one of my favorites already. Let's see. Loved you talking capacity. Can we regain capacity despite Crohn's scar tissue? Wow. You know, Maureen, you're on the verge of the, you know what I'm going to say, hemorrhoid lady. Not quite, because you're very nice. You won't get that title, but, I challenge my questions. No, you lose capacity if there's genuinely scar tissue that's in a place that's causing a problem. There's scar tissue and there's scar tissue. You know, a lot of people, well, I guess I can probably say most of us have scar tissue, and really all of us have at least some. It depends on where it's at. And how do we know? Just, you know, if we do all the right things and we just can't get there, you know, it's a car. Let me talk about capacity for a minute. It's one of my favorite things. Okay, so we're treating you, and I'm going to bop back and forth with my car analogy. We're fixing a car. We bought an older car. It's supposed to go 100. We're tinkering with it. We know we're asking our Uncle Aldo, you know, what do we do with a spark plug? It's an old car. I don't know enough about new cars. I know the old cars, carburetors and stuff. So we're messing around, okay? And we're getting it up to 82, 85, and we're thinking, well, that's the fastest it's going to go. Yeah, but it's supposed to go 100. So we finally get up to 100. 100 is the maximum that car will go, and we got there. That means we got that car to function at its capacity. We have everything lined up. So with you, what happens is that if you have diarrhea, constipation, whatever it is, we're looking as we climb the ladder, can we reach capacity? Well, capacity is supposed to be, in this car, the 19, where were you born? 2000, well, probably a lot of you. The 2000 model, supposed to go 100 miles an hour. Okay, what could interfere with that? Well, just like the car, just say we couldn't get some part. I don't know what else to say about the car. Couldn't get some parts broken, whatever. We might be able to just go 95 in that car. But for you, if you have all your parts, and if there isn't scar tissue that's in the wrong place, then you'll be able to go 100 miles an hour. That's, let's see if there's more to say about that. Motility and absorption. Oh, those are the issues that would be, you know, when you did your homework. I'm just waiting for the follow-up question. Motility and, you know what that is, movement, that's like peristaltic motion, and absorption. Those are the issues that would go south on you if you had scar tissue in the wrong place. How do we know where it's at? Well, one, if you have a colonoscopy, but I don't think the doctor's going to be able to tell you anything about that. That's my concept, not theirs. And you have to just see how you function. You know, I always go back, I'll just say it's the Maureen test. Maureen test, the Mary test is, how do we know? We look at you in real time. Okay, Danny's just one of my favorite guys. That's his nickname, favorite guy, cool guy. Daniel, why do some patients have more food sensitivities than others? Does more food sensitivities mean your gut is more compromised and takes longer to heal? Well, yes. I mean, the answer to the food sensitivities is software. You know, one of the things I'm part of is my concept of software, the human biocomputer. The hardware is the skin, fat, and muscle, the physicalness, you know, that my computer, there it is, and the physicalness of the wall of your stomach or your bowel. In this case, sensitivity is really the stomach. That's the hardware. So this is a software issue. You know, IBS, Colitis, and Crohn's, those are hardware issues. You got, well, software and hardware. Not enough software, which acts like a barrier, firewall against the acid, and but hardware because the damage to the hardware, the holes. The software is, hey, picture this. On my computer here, you guys don't even have a computer. Younger people, you got phones, right? Keyboard on both, either one. A, B, C, D, the software recognizes the code. Okay, deciphers it, sends an email to Danny. Okay, now, Danny, by the way, you're in second place now for being prolific. Okay, Maureen took over, right? You're in second place, buddy. The absorption is based on you download some food. The food contains nutrients, and each nutrient has a code, A, B, C, D, and the software, if it's in place, working properly, recognizes the code and sends a signal that says, oh, your vitamin A in there. You got some vitamin B. Oh, what's this bubble gum? You swallowed bubble gum? Okay. Hey, how many Fritos did you eat, by the way? It's seeing everything, and it's sending a signal over to the periatal cells in the gut on the hardware. It says secrete these exact enzymes in these exact amounts, and it sends over. It says now he's eating saltwater taffy. What's going on with this guy that talks like that about you? And that's what the grumbling is. It's talking about you in grumble language. So don't learn that. You won't want to get your feelings hurt. And so it's the software that recognizes this, and the software is your microbiome. The software is the mucosal lining that recognizes the code. You have an antibiotic, it's like a computer virus, right? Goes in there and alters your ability to decipher. It's like something messing, open that attachment. Oh, shouldn't open that. It's messing with my software, my stealing my data. And the antibiotic is the only drug that walks off with some of your body when it leaves. When it leaves, it opens up the suitcase and throws some of your mucosal lining in there, and it says, "Ha, see you later." And we say, ha ha, on you, we put it right back in because we're smart. See, I don't know why. I say, you're a medical doctor. You write out prescriptions for antibiotics. You're a pharmacist, okay? You work at CVS, okay? So you, and in the big chains, you see, I went to CVS one day. Oh my God, I couldn't believe the factory of those brown paper bags, and boom, 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 they're just banging those things out. So how come you can't figure out that when I write all these scripts every day and they keep coming back with stomach problems, bowel problems, you can't figure that out on the fly? You shouldn't even need your smoke break for that. You should do that in your commute. You shouldn't even have to, you can figure that while you're sitting on the toilet. What's wrong with you? Well, the wrong is their education, the culture they live in. The culture they live in is driven by the drug company salesman. Go to a doctor's office, in the back room, there's drug salesmen lined up, waiting for the turn to hand the pen. They keep the pressure on, keep the pressure on, keep the pressure on. Okay, and the guy or the girl who hands you the bag of drugs at CVS should know, because she's probably got diarrhea. While where's the kaopectate and all that stuff? Aisle 2. Somebody on here should be able to tell us where the kaopectate is and the other stuff. Okay, Brioski and all that old school stuff. By the way, some of the stuff in the pharmacy, like Pepto-Bismol, those are old-fashioned remedies. Those are legit. Okay, so sensitivities, you're just not absorbing. It means we have to work harder at getting the correct strains of bacteria in there. Okay, so each strain of bacteria is assigned to different things, and you have to rotate them. That's why they have people rotate them. What I do when I treat people, I see how far we can go with just a basic probiotic that I use, and say, oh, okay, we have those things left over. There, we've healed everything else. Let's go after the strains of different strains of bacteria for the different food sensitivities. Okay, Tammy, is it necessary to take probiotics when taking colloidal silver? Does it kill both bad and good? No, it doesn't kill the bad. The good. It doesn't kill the good. Just the bad and the ugly. No, what a lot of people do, practitioners, because they don't understand, is tell you to take the silver first if you're taking them both, and then separate that and take the a little later take the probiotic. Isn't needed. My friend Zane Baranowski, a name I couldn't remember last week, Zane Baranowski. If you want to read the book, and it's a short book on colloidal silver, written a long time ago, he wrote it. It's on Amazon, if it's still there. A good close friend of mine. I haven't talked to him for a while. He's the man. Zane Baranowski knew about SBOs before all of you. He had a connection with their grabbing soil from some mountains in Tibet. SBOs, there wasn't even a word for that. And he was telling us about, he used to come on my radio show, say, what's up, Zane? He says, I'm just eating dirt. Just eating dirt. He's the one that gave him my idea of the intestines. We're a walking plant. And so, we'll talk about that another day. Okay, Saba, you're really hitting it here. Now, let's go to Mandy first. I don't want to get in trouble with Mandy. Why do some people do better on less supplements and others need more? Biochemical individuality. Depends on which supplements you're taking. It depends a lot. Osmosis. how well you suck those things in. You're not gonna be really good at absorption unless you have a lot of mucosal lining in your cells. The thing I just said about the software in the gut, cells. How many cells do we have? Anybody know? Every cell's lit up like a neon light. When you put the probiotic and colostrum in your stomach, just picture that as a circle. Okay? Picture it as a good sized circle. Neon lights, boom, boom. Now you got things going. It goes out to the bloodstream. Picture little neon lights flowing through the bloodstream. Okay? And then it goes into every cell, lights up. When you have the mucosal lining software in every cell, you're going to absorb maximally. Otherwise, you're a little bit wasting your time. Throw some MSM in there. Okay. So we were, one time I just want to throw this in there because it just reminded me. I said neon lights. A couple of people I knew were doing dark field microscopy, if I said it right, microscopy, where they take a little bit of blood, look at it under a special kind of like a microscope, and you see germs, then you see enzymes. We saw some. I blew my mind because I said, "You guys are full of shit." That's saying that stuff. And put that under with kinesiology. Put that over there in the trash bin. And so he showed me. My friend Dale showed me. He said, "Look, I saw her like saying Candida or something float into the pitcher. This is looking at blood, and then we had given that person some enzymes that were supposed to kill him. Sure enough, I see these enzymes come flying in the pitcher, and they attacked the germ, whatever it was, and the germ just went, poof, it was gone. It was unbelievable. So the reason is because of all those factors I said, age, genetics aren't really, maybe genetics are. I'm going to change my mind there. Some people are, he's a fast healer. Well, yeah, of course that would be, I guess. But if you want to take control of it, you take the probiotics. And again, I haven't talked enough about it. Rotating strains of bacteria. And don't worry about if you say, well, this bottle's got lactobacillus acidophilus, and that one has lactobacillus. Believe me, they're different. Because it depends how they were cultivated. It's like saying a Caucasian is the same culturally as someone in England, as someone who's in, wherever else you want to name. What do you want to say? I'm trying to think of an Eastern European country. Anywhere, Yugoslavia. I don't know why it took me so long. I was making sure I didn't get our culture. Culturally, they're different. Physically, yeah, they're similar. Okay, Saba, I had some time-release capsules come out undigested a few years before I got GI symptoms. Was metformin, which is for diabetes. India is supposed to have one of the highest diabetes rates in the world. And I asked a Indian doctor, he says, "We love sweets." That was his answer. I don't know. Was the metformin doctor was giving me was in the 20s. Let's see, the metformin doctor gave me this in my mid-20s for pre-diabetes. Her metformin does a number on the gut lining. I don't think it does a number on the gut lining. I've never heard that. Metformin manages your sugar, helps you manage sugar. Pre-diabetes, that's another bullshit diagnosis. When most people, I'll make a comment about this. When most people, and I'll tell you about it personally, I was told I had diabetes. I said, "I don't think so, man." They say, "You have diabetes." I said, "I don't think so, man. Do some blood work. If you have diabetes, you should have hypoinsulin," right? I was right. The insulin came back as perfect. What I had was insulin sensitivity. If that's how I say it right. I put it so far behind me that insensitivity. I'll remember the name. You know what I mean. It's because it's not in my wheelhouse. You know what that is? It's lack of the ability to open up your insulin receptor sites. Like, here's what the deal is. You move muscular. You need sugar. That's when people say, "No sugar, no sugar." I say, "Well, you want to be not be able to get off the couch? No salt, no salt." Or you want to have extremely high blood pressure? So you're walking around talking, doing physical stuff. You need sugar. Well, the muscle cells are going to call for, "Hey, we need sugar." Okay, and you're going to say, well, that guy won't swallow any sugar. Okay, let him be on the couch. And so what happens is insulin is released, and it pushes the sugar, hopefully, through the insulin receptor sites into the bloodstream and into the muscle. Okay, what I had was insulin resistance. Insulin resistance, which is from being lazy, sitting in front of a computer all day for 20 years, and my muscles just weren't, they didn't need to call for any sugar because I wasn't doing anything. Okay, and so the insulin receptor sites just went to sleep, and so it wasn't pushing my. I had plenty of insulin, but it wasn't able to push the sugar into the insulin receptor site because it just shut down. So they gave me this crazy meter. You know those meters they give you see on TV? It says, "Oh yeah, cool." Well, when I first did it, my sugar was at record highs because the high level that when you're supposed to die is like 300. Mine was never. It was over. I kept sending for a new meter. I said, fuck this. I was in the line at CVS, and you know how that is. I said, fuck you people. I'm not going to wait in line to get something I don't believe in. So anyways, I started walking. Just walking. 10 minutes. Okay, because it said in the book you want to walk online. It said you want to walk kind of briskly. That'll open up your receptor sites because now the muscle cells are saying, hey, we need some sugar. Oh, and we woke up the insulin receptor sites and says, okay, I'm opening up, and then the sugar goes there. I was never low on insulin. I had lack of absorption of the sugar. The insulin couldn't push it through. So this is another deal where they said, they tell you have diabetes. And I said to the doctor, I said, listen, you can't just tell people they have diabetes and they have to change their whole lifestyle and they're going to basically be giving themselves low blood sugar. The diet you have to go on, I looked at it and I said, fuck you. I said, I'm not going to, when I eat those foods, it doesn't change anything. So I said, I got insulin resistance. I said, why did you tell me? And she said, no, she mumbled something. I said, well, don't be telling people they have insulin. When here's another part of that. I said, when you saw I didn't have hypoglycemia, I didn't have hypoinsulin, you should have called me and said, listen, man, you don't have diabetes. You don't get a phone call. I would have still been eating nothing but. There we go, another one of my Indian friends calling. Hey, we'll take the call and see what he's got to say. I'll tell him he's on with us. Hello, Dr. Snow. Dr. Snow here. You're on live on my podcast right now. You want to call back or we want to talk?
I would like to call you back, okay?
Okay, call back after 5 o'clock. Thank you.
Thank you, bye.
I'm sorry to get off on the tangent there. That has nothing to do with what I normally talk about. It doesn't matter, probiotics, colostrum, and that stuff. But they should tell you. Okay, where we have the Sabi, I'm going to get you, brother. I'm going to get you. I'm Indian. Yes, Ayurvedic works for me. Yes, I do. Great when I'm in India, but I get sick back here. Yeah, we're going to have to figure out what it is, I'm not going to take the time to figure it out, but somebody here will. Okay, other than food, isn't it the stress as well, emotional factor? Well, it doesn't cause it. If you're talking about an inflammatory bowel condition, it doesn't cause it. Maybe if you're under this extreme, like in the Holocaust, you're sitting there waiting to be put into an oven or something, I would think maybe they weren't fed a very good diet. But no, the stress that we're all under would just exacerbate the current symptoms. Stress doesn't destroy the mucosal lining. Okay. Same person. Yes. Oddly, acacia causes bacterial overgrowth for me, and psyllium works great. Probably my lack of motility. I have constipated diarrhea. Well, constipated diarrhea is lack of peristaltic motion. Just treated somebody for that, where the stool is soft enough, so we wouldn't give you magnesium. And with, make a comment about the protocol. I've gotten a question quite a few times in the 195 protocol for constipation. we set you up with like the probiotic and colostrum, and maybe the GI Select, and I tell them, hey, the whole deal is really magnesium and fiber. And they'll say, well, why'd you give me the other ones? Because you have to set the conditions of a perfectly normal bowel with the basics. Otherwise, we might get the bowel going, but you still don't have the mucosal lining set up, and you might still have an ulcer or something. So, yeah, it comes down to, with constipation, it comes down to usually have to soften the stool with magnesium. Don't ask me how much, but of course the amount is whatever works for you. You start off with like 1 capsule. That's what I tell people. I said, what do you have? Well, I have a bottle. I said, don't even tell me milligrams. Just take 1 of them. Tell me what happens tomorrow. Nothing. All right, take 2. Oh, okay, that's your amount. Oh, by the way, I said, don't even tell me the number of milligrams. We don't care. So you take enough magnesium to soften the stool. If your stool's already soft, then you don't do that. You just have to take fiber. And the fiber, the key to fiber is, the body looks at it, doesn't have any nutritional value for the body. It doesn't have vitamin A, B, C. It's fiber. Okay? The body interprets that as, you don't have any for us, move on. And when it moves on, it moves the different stages of our GI tract. It's forcing the muscle to move in its proper motion, peristaltic motion, and it becomes muscle memory. It's like doing pull-ups or something. After a while, the body adapts and says, okay, we know we're going to do this every day. And so every time it runs through you, it's you're better off. So if you have 5 good bowel movements in over 2 or 3 days, you didn't just have bowel movements. You trained your bowel muscle to get better. Motility is that. Now there's, I forget the names because I don't treat this one. The motility issue, maybe someone remember the condition. When you have poor motility, when it's your bowel and you're sluggish, that's just a peristaltic motion. There's a condition, it's right on the tip of my tongue, where basically the muscles freeze. And it's usually more up in the esophagus, upper GI. And that's a tough one. I fix it, but I don't see it very often. So every time it passes through the gut, your bowel is better than it was. So the way it's supposed to work, then after we get you rolling, say, wow, I'm giving some people some tips for the 195 constipation protocol, is that you want to have as many good movements as you can. You want to keep it going. Some will say, well, I'm going good now. Can I stop the fiber? No, because you want to keep going and almost overkill. You want to say, okay, wow. And then what we do is we say, at some point, we say, okay, you've had enough perfect movements. Let's try going off the fiber and using the food. The bulk of the food should be able to pick up. And so you eat food. By the end of that meal, you should have a little impulse, and you should be the guy that just wanders off, goes to the bathroom, comes back in probably 30 seconds, has a bowel movement. Where that's the stimulus. The stimulus creates the peristaltic motion, and until you do that, you haven't perfected your bowel. But we don't really need to perfect it. You need to go enough. 2, and then maybe occasionally once a day is okay. We run into people that we just can't get them. Maybe their capacity isn't 3 or 2, but they feel fantastic on 1, and we say, great. The big deal, especially for women, is I'm bloated. I try to find the first woman who doesn't tell me she's bloated. If you're out there, please phone in or come on our chat here on our show. I don't think there is such a person, and I'm going to get in big trouble for this one. Big trouble. I believe in some cases part of it is vanity. They don't want their stomach sticking out. I mean, who wants somebody walking up to you and saying, "When's your due date?" I get that, but part of it's got to be vanity. It can't be every woman. So I get in trouble for that one. Okay, Kit, we love our friend Kit down in Australia. Kit, brother, you're a little bit eccentric, right? We love that in you. You've written some great posts on the Facebook page. You're from down under. You're the only one I know that doesn't hang out in the pub all day down there. I had a couple of people told me, they said, yeah, down in Australia, we got a drinking problem down here. So I think Kit hangs around with the Aborigines down there. So what are you saying, Kit? What's your opinion on the vaccines? Oh, no, you might as well ask me about Trump. All I can tell you is I got the Vaseline, because I didn't hesitate. I'm not going to get an argument. I'm not even going to answer anyone responds, anyone else comments. I'm not even going to respond. I'm only going to do so out of respect for Kit. I got it because I just did the addition in my head, the odds. I mean, this stuff about all the negatives that go with vaccines. A lot of stuff is just bullshit that's being passed around online. Sure, you can probably throw me some statistics that would maybe scare me, but no. Then I look at, I happen to have people I know who have died. I've seen 20, 30, 27-year-old people pull out of their house and not make it to the ambulance. Until that happens to you, you're kind of cocky. Okay? So, in case you're in the CVS, you need kaopectate, and it's 2 in the morning, Tammy says aisle 7. Okay, I don't know if that's in all the stores or not, but it happened to my wife one time. Her father came up from Florida, and he kept on insisting on steamers. You might not know what those are. I wouldn't eat one. Steamers are, clams, steamed. Took me 50 years to eat a fried clam, and now I can't get enough of them. And, some people eat too many of them, you get diarrhea. So, she was up at 3 in the morning, CVS or one of the drugstores, getting one of the, who knows what it was, could have been kaopectate. That was an incident that happened in her life, I mean, my wife to leave the house at 3 in the morning without makeup and, boots on. I guess she'd do anything for her father. She wouldn't get out of bed without putting makeup on for me, although I don't think she needs it. Okay, yes, Tammy says insulin resistance. Did you ever have any patients say wormwood benefited them at all when they announced on Facebook that it was supposed to be a game changer with colitis and Crohn's? Yes. Wormwood is used primarily for, worms and parasites. I had an intention of commenting about that in a minute. I had somebody. This came up last year, and I wrote about it quite a bit on Facebook. It was kind of what I call like a comet. It flew across the sky real quick, and then we didn't hear any more about it. I was telling people, Wormwood, just got a word from Wormwood about somebody. They told me it's fantastic. And I looked into it, and I said, well, it could possibly. I know it's good for other things. And that's all I know is it worked for somebody, and I think I got 1 or 2 calls saying, yeah, it worked for me. I don't know about it working. It's just an herb I don't use because it's not needed for what I do. I have people tell me all the time they see, they're doing deworming things and all that. What do I think about it? Well, a lot of times we're driving stuff out of our body that we need. You don't think you have natural parasites? You don't think you have stuff growing in you? It's like you dig up some soil. You see the little black, little wormy things and little weird things. They're supposed to be there. A lot of stuff you're seeing in your stool, if you're taking herbs and such that drives parasites out of your body, you're driving parasites out of your body that should be there. I've never seen a case where anybody needed to drive a parasite out of their body to get healed of inflammatory bowel condition. If you have some kind of just thing that just gives you diarrhea, maybe there's a parasite in there. Montezuma's Revenge. 99% of the time, the body's going to resolve that if you have strong software. In Ayurveda, they call it fire. Fire. You have to have fire in the belly. Okay, you use certain herbs. Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. That's a Pitta issue, right? Right, Sabha, Pitta. And so you got 3, I think of as 3 balls, like suns, 3 suns, and sun, moon, and the other one, whatever it is, Venus. And you're supposed to balance those. And if you don't digest real good, they're going to give you herbs that raise the Pitta. In your Pitta people, there's a lot of things they're supposed to have a fiery disposition and all that. It's the other thing I want to mention. What was that other one? The lectins. What a bunch of bullshit that is. I went down that road for a while and checked that out. A bunch of bullshit. Lectins. Check out lectins if you want to waste your time. Okay, Tammy's bragging now. She says she's never been bloated. Okay. We're going to have a little party for Tammy, a not bloated party. Everyone brings some kind of thing like beans or something. We'll test her out. Okay, Tammy, I'm going to just cook you a pot of beans. And we're going to just sit around and watch your stomach. Okay? And if you start farting like crazy, we're all going to leave you right where you are. Okay? Okay, Maureen's restraining herself. Restraint lady is another name. You might earn that one because this is a short one. Can scar tissue respond to the protocol? I have a nice answer for that one. Or if you know because of imaging you have scar tissue, do you treat after seeing capacity reached with the protocol? Good question, a little tricky one there. Okay, there's different levels of what's referred to as scar tissue. You know, the calluses. You know, calluses are on your hand, right? You dig in. Like me, I got no calluses. You put me out there in the garden, tell me to plant something, I'm going to have some calluses. I'm going to have blisters. And then the body's going to say, you know what, the heck with this. Remind me about scar tissue for sinuses, too. What are those called? I forget what they're called. So anyway, you're digging, you get the callus. Why is the callus there? The body says, you know what, you're damaging us, the tissue underneath, to protect us so we don't go down the bone, put extra layers of skin there. And then, you know, when someone says, why don't you wear some gloves, man? You're really dumb. I say, okay, yeah, thanks, I'll wear the gloves. And for me, I'd wear one on one hand, not on the other, to experiment, right? And one hand would be getting torn up. So anyways, if you put the gloves on, the calluses go away because you're not putting the friction, the pressure on the tissue. Same thing with a shoe or something, get new shoes. Well, for the, this happens with GERD, happens to be what GERD is that you're lacking mucosal lining, acid starts attacking the tissue, and then it starts to heal itself. First thing it's going to do, this is some bodies, not everybody. Some bodies decide to make this decision. Like a polyp, that's the word, polyp in the sinus. So I'll talk about that. So you form a layer of callus. It says, you know, you're not going to burn a hole through us, esophagus or something, right? And so if you don't put the mucosal lining up, it's going to keep forming more and more callus. Then you're going to have what is oftentimes mistaken as a hiatal hernia, something protruding. It's not a hernia. There are hernias, but many times they're just calluses. So then you have trouble swallowing. So what do we do? Like when we put a glove on, keep digging, the callus goes away. The body just pecks away at that. So I got somebody. Somebody just swore at me in text. I love that. So a lot of people swear at me. So anyway, we put the glove on and inside. Put the glove on inside. Yeah, we put a glove on your esophagus. That's the mucosal lining. Take the liquid probiotic, you know. And so when you don't do that, eventually the callus turns into more fibrous tissue, and more dense tissue, and that's, you know, living in the world between a callus and scar. Strictures come about when you don't get the attention. Eventually it says, you know what, we're out of here. We're just going to totally leave this as scar tissue. See you later. That's scar tissue. And that's what you have a problem with because you can't absorb nutrients through there. It's inflexible. So prior to flat out scar tissue, you have to get a hold of it, putting the glove on it. And GERD is esophageal reflux disease, right? That's when you're at the stage of still not scar tissue, and then you're ready for Barrett's syndrome. You don't want Barrett's syndrome. My friend Jim is in the ground because of Barrett's syndrome. So it's not pleasant to think about. He didn't want to hear what I had to say, though. He was his own man. So you better get that glove on the esophagus if you've been diagnosed with GERD. Otherwise, don't Google Barrett's. You won't like it. Okay? So I think what happened with our friend Maureen is that she didn't hear us talk a couple of weeks ago, and I always think of Ryan with this. Ryan's our ingenious altar boy guy. And so he's one of the earliest guys that ever achieved a nickname. You know, he earned it too. I have to say this every time I mention Ryan, I gotta say it. The only guy, you know, I have a nephew. Just every time I see him, he shows me a six-pack. He says, six-pack. Look at my six-pack. Okay. Ryan has surgery. He's got us stapled together, man. And he shows us that on the Facebook page. Takes a snapshot. Now that's cool. I want to hang around with that guy. So with the scar tissue, if it's in the wrong place, you have to have it removed or just live with it. That's going to limit your capacity. Now, Ryan, we talked about serrapeptase, talk about wobenzyme, special kind of enzymes that supposedly chip away, bite it. They take little bites out of it every day. The scar tissue, and it can be reduced. But I've seen people improve enough so that like a narrow way, the narrower passageway the stool can't get through, terminal ileum. I've seen people improve, like, wow, we can now get food through there. I don't know how much of the scar tissue went away, but now enough in waste to get through there. So I've seen it work, but it takes a long time. Tammy Lynn, she writes, can biopsies during colonoscopy cause damage to the mucosal lining? Well, I'm still not sure everybody understands what the mucosal lining is. You have, for instance, a polyp. Let's talk about what polyps are. Polyp scar tissue. It's a callus. What happens is that I had a guy that I healed him. He had hundreds of polyps. He had hundreds of calluses. The body's saying in that person's case, you burn the hell out of this, extra layers of skin. Okay? Doctor never says take a probiotic. They're always saying, don't take a probiotic. It hasn't been approved by the FDA. And here's another one. SIBO. Don't take it. That's bacteria. We're trying to kill off the bacteria. I don't even have to explain that one to you, educated crowd we have here. Biopsies, I've had people say that they damaged their colon when they snipped some stuff out, and that was a physical thing. They damaged something, physical thing. Let's see, can biopsies during colonoscopy cause damage to the mucosal lining? No, not the mucosal lining. Some people worry about the prep. You got to take the prep, and it just cleans you out. Doesn't clean out the mucosal lining. Not a bad idea. A lot of people routinely take a probiotic afterwards, because I could be wrong. I don't think so. Might take a probiotic after that, but the other part of it, no. Not a colonoscopy, no. Okay, now we have Dan. Nice guy, Dan. Sorry, buddy, you're second place. I had you condensed. Dan used to send me a Reader's Digest of his, and I asked him to send a lot of it, but I had to say, Dan, bro, your fingers must be getting calluses, right? He's a great guy, very tolerant. We're going to talk about that and him. It's soon time coming up is that he's been at it for a longer time than other people with me, and so we'll talk about that kind of scenario maybe another day. What symptom usually takes the longest to resolve while healing colitis, Crohn's? If we're going to give it a sort of a scale that is typical, that happens, that we see most often, is the bleeding. Well, by far the champion is bloating and gas. That's, I don't even think about it anymore. That's going to be once in a while. When I say, not even once in a while, but 30-40% of the time, which is a pretty good amount. It changes right away. It gets better, bloating and gas. But I'm still usually tweaking. See, bloating and gas go away when you have the GI tract, the software perfected. Okay, it's not really related to a hole in your gut. It means the software has been tinkered with, and it's like your computer might sometimes go into mode. A lot of people have Mac computers. You get this little circle of death thing that spins around, says computer's thinking, or it heats up and you hear it. Okay, that's what happens when you have gas and bloating. It's just the software is not fully mature yet. You're not digesting the food down to the nth degree. Bleeding is the most common one that will go away last. Because you got a pretty good sized hole in there. And people who have bleeding, they're getting the microscope out, man. You can't say to them, hey, it's normal to have specks of blood after colonoscopy. The doctor says little specks of blood, which is, or just in a stool sample, you can have a little bit of blood and have not have a problem. But believe me, the people with blood, they've seen blood, they're going through the stool, man. I got people that buy special equipment for that. They tell me, we saw a little something like this. I said, you're looking at too close, man. Looking too close. Mucus can take longer. And here's what drives people, especially people who are on our chat right now, crazy about mucus. It's unpredictable. 2/3 of your stool is mucus, anyways, but it's in a form. It's been converted into a form that makes up the bulk of the stool. You don't see it as mucus. Mucus is there for a bunch of reasons. One is if you have real significant damage to your colon, it's going to go in there to try to protect it. And ask like a little insulation to say, you know what, she hasn't set up her mucosal lining quite yet. Let's give it some help with mucus borrowed from the immune system. And at different stages, you might have eaten something that is really aggravates the tissue. It'll produce a little bit of mucus. It just means that it'll take the mucus that's there and not convert it all into stool. And then it'll show up randomly. I'll tell you a story about mucus that I haven't said in a long time. This is the kind of thing that's being preserved for our knowledge base. The knowledge base, by the way, I'm looking for a better name for that. If anyone has a better name for knowledge base, it's where I store all the obscure, unknown secrets on my website, the Holistic Gastroenterology.com. Give it to me, because I hate knowledge base. I want something like the secret vault or something. This is the kind of stuff that's going to be on there, but you talked me into revealing it now. When you take, say you have a cold, and your nose is draining mucus, and you take a drug, Tammy will tell us what aisle they have these drugs that suppress the dripping on your nose, and I forget the name of those because I never use them. And you take it and snuff and say, oh, I had a runny nose half an hour ago. I'm cool now. I'm ready to go. Every time that you suppress that, it's going to come back. The body has a memory. It might not. I'm not talking about tomorrow. I'm talking about it's going to come back sometime down the road. Every time you suppress a symptom with a drug, it's going to come back. I forget what the ratio is. It's something like for every 10 days you suppress a symptom, you're extending your recovery a day. So if you're on something for 30 days, 60 days, right, figure every 10 days, whatever increment that is, that you're gonna take longer to heal. So that can be problematic for people who are long-term on drugs. I know Dan's going like now. Dan's going, what the fuck is he saying to me? Oh no! But here we got circumvented when you have someone smart like me, smart at this, and we circumvent that. Okay. So the example of the cold will be you keep on suppressing it, you're gonna it's gonna come back at you. Okay. I forget it was. I'll share this next week. I forget what there is an old adage about your illnesses will get healed in the order that they came. Could be the reverse order, I forget, but there's an adage. I'll have to look it up. Not Fletcher. There's old school guys, homeopathic guys, naturopathic guys. They would, Tammy, what aisle, sister? What aisle? She's at CVS. I'm yelling down. I said, I don't see it. She's up there, taking care of someone else. Where are the condoms? I need the condoms. Never mind the histamines. So the mucus or whatever will come back if you keep suppressing it, among other things. But I forget I'll look it up. It's very interesting. It's a very interesting concept of the, I don't hate to say too much about it because I'm saying it wrong, but when you suppress things, they'll come back at you, and they'll come back at you in the order that they originally came about. So, and if you suppress it, they're going to pop up. This is one reason why I've had some people say, what the fuck? I was doing great, now all of a sudden I have mucus in my stool? Well, one of the reasons, remember, mucus isn't one thing. It's not about one thing. Mucus comes about for a lot of reasons, and they're really all good reasons. But if you haven't done anything like, here's a reason you'll get mucus. You're cruising down the road, you're doing great. You're not, doing great. You're telling your sister, hey, listen, my poops are normal, and she said, I don't want too much information. But then you eat a bag of Doritos Super Bowl day, celebrating the New England Patriots, Tom Brady, another Super Bowl victory, right? Super Bowl, you can tell where I'm coming from. And that's my busiest day of the year is after the Super Bowl, because you chow down a bunch of Doritos, and you scrape the hell out of yourself, and you don't have your mucosal lining fully thick enough. Scrapes it. Here comes some mucus. Says, you know what? You're going to hit us with those guys. We're going to throw some mucus out here. But it's there for a lot of reasons, and you can't freak out when you see mucus because they are. It's there for a bunch of reasons, and it's our friend. That's why I say all the time on Facebook. I say diarrhea is my friend. I love diarrhea. I love diarrhea. I want to hang around with diarrhea. Why? Because it's putting out water there to wash away the acid that would be burning your bowel wall. You know, hole right through it. Mucus, I just explained. I love mucus. Want to hang around with mucus. I want my nickname to be Mr. Mucus. You know, stuff like that because we need it. It's a good thing. You know, we tend to think of things that occur as all negative, and then I'm trying to explain to them. Like I'm telling one person I know, let's just see what happens tomorrow. And they're like freaking out, no, now. I said, tomorrow. And, you know, they get all mad at me. I said, well, I want to know if you have mucus tomorrow. It tells me where the mucus comes from, what it's all about. Okay, Tammy says there's no condoms. They're stealing them all. Okay. Then she puts a smiley face on there. Yeah, you need to put them behind the counter. Make them, you know, when I was young. Wow, I don't believe I'm telling this story. One pharmacy in the town I lived in. You guys know the story. Young guys, you don't realize what we had to go through to get condoms. Someone's gonna give me a thumbs up on this one. Anyone my age, you had to get a condom when you were 17, 16. You had to go through hell. You had to go 3 towns over because you went to the pharmacy where I lived. There's one pharmacy. The girl you knew sat next to in high school was working at the pharmacy. And they didn't make these things available. It was almost a crime to get a condom. You know what I mean? You were a really bad boy. And so, you know, you couldn't just walk in and say, oh, hi, Mary Lou, saw you in history class yesterday, give me 3 condoms. Yeah, small ones, yeah, sure. You had to go through like 3 towns over. So anyone who's my age will give us the, I guess nobody's out there, no one's my age. I mean, I'm that old. So why are we talking about condoms anyways? So I want to remind you guys of something. I'm doing a bunch of podcasts now, not just this question and answer. And you can listen to me on any of your favorite channels, you know, Spotify, Twitch, you know, Apple, all of them. I'm on every one of them. And I expand on, I do a lot more than, of course, than this question and answer. Also, I have a radio station at my own station, and that information is on your screen where you see that triangle, not a triangle, that box, rectangle. It says the radio station on there. That's a little wilder. I preserve that for my wild side. We have you know, for anyone who's into this, we have a swearing station, it's an hour, where we just swear at each other. Just everybody just swears, like 9 people swear, fuck you. And so that's what we do. And I am trying to fill airtime. You got to realize that. I'm also going to be doing a DJ show where I'm going to be acting cool beatnik guy, playing, you know, kind of a fake voice and everything. I'm going to be playing some, what they used to call long hair music. I'm going to be playing like a beatnik guy, and you can give your request, and I'll be doing that. And I need something to do at 3 in the morning. But Spotify and such on the podcast, the part of my favorite place to post anything is the knowledge base, the secret trapdoor, the secret vault. And what's that about? I put stuff on there that is basically forbidden. I put stuff on there that's extremely controversial, cutting edge, no one's ever heard of, stuff of the future, but also practical stuff like how to fix your sinuses. If you have polyps on your sinus, here's the deal. You lost your mucosal lining. They gave you antibiotics. They happen to hit you there. And so you lost mucosal lining. Here's the histamine being released every time you breathe in something funky. Histamine is released, which is a digestive acid. No mucosal lining, just like in your gut. The histamine, which is a digestive acid, wants to eat a hole through your wall of your sinus, just like my friends who did a lot of cocaine. They hole right through. And what happens is again, callus. The body says, "Oh, we don't want you to hole through us. We're going to put callus there." Okay. Then they tell you have a polyp. Let's do some surgery on that thing. But you know what? If you don't fix it, a polyp's going to come back. Let's do some more surgery. You don't put the mucosal lining back in there. Okay. In that case, I'd say we're probably better off taking an antihistamine, right? Better than, it's like taking a PPI. We're not fixing the problem. It's eating a hole in your gut. Oh, let's suppress the acid somewhat. And then we can also sell you some other stuff for your stomach, right? Right, Tammy? Sinuses there. Get your kit ready. Green tea capsules, but got to be concentrated. That's the case where I like to use the extracts, standardized extracts. There's some companies out there that make that. Green tea capsules. Don't try to drink the green tea. Get the colloidal silver, but get the one, I'm going to be posting this. This one's hard to find. You get the one with the sinus application. You know, it's made to corrupt the sinus. Most companies don't make that. I'm going to be putting all this on the knowledge base. Hopefully it'll get done this weekend. And some probiotic and colostrum. And you're going to want, you know, if you really want to be big time, do it big time, go to the drugstore and get those those nasal sprays. They're a little plastic bottle. What do they cost, $1 or something? And you can put some water in there with some probiotic. Spray that up there too. Ooh. I never did it, but I know it works. Fortunately, I never had that problem. And what you do, just spray the silver up there and you go, 2 or 3 good, kind of like get it really up there, and then do it 2 or 3 times a day. And then you do, if you want to go hardcore, you don't have to because it's going to get healed anyways. Put some probiotic with colostrum. Remember, everywhere colostrum goes, probiotic goes, colostrum should go too. That's the kind of stuff we're putting on there. So you're going to want to go to the Holistic Gastroenterology.com site. Now, to get into the knowledge base, you got to have bought into the $195 GI Cure protocol, which will be the best investment of your life. You won't have to listen to me, okay? So you'll get the same information, but only better, much more, because I'm going to be giving you information on there that's much more than you would give an appointment. And then you get access to the knowledge base. Okay? So, and Tammy said decaffeinated green tea capsule. It doesn't have to be unless you want, if you don't want that, like the caffeine. Tammy, you wise ass, she's got the botanical name. Is that what they call it? The Argentyn, Argentyn. That's the, I think that's the mineral name, biological name of silver. Okay, Maureen's back. Maureen, pushing for another nickname. She's getting shorter every time. Someday I'm gonna publish anonymously the email she sent me. Unbelievable. I'm gonna have to hire a staff to do so. I had another guy out there. He sent me every food he eaten for like years. Like, how do you remember each one of those meals? How about the guy? Just reminds me of the story. Well, you've had an appointment with me up until a few months ago. I used to have a different model. I used to write, I'd say, draw a circle. That's your stomach. I used to say, draw a circle. I said, this guy said, you got to pay attention. Do everything I said, tell you to do. Draw the circle. So I'm telling him, all the story about how to get fixed. And so at the end, I said, so any other questions? He says, this is like, 45 minutes later. He said, yeah, can I stop drawing the circle now? I meant just draw a circle. I didn't say didn't, and then I didn't say stop drawing the circle. So, Maureen, I'm learning so much and have been. Hope again for my daughter. Thank you, Dr. Snow, and Tammy too, and everyone. Now, that's very nice, Maureen. She's trying to assuage me. Is that the word? So I'm not mad. I'm counting the consonants. After I forget what someone's going to have to, in my office, have to determine what the number was. But it's like Twitter. I charge, I didn't tell you, Maureen. I charge $0.05 a digit, and spaces count too. So you already owe me $755, and we didn't even tally it up today. Okay? And so I advise you, don't use periods or exclamation points or question marks because you're going to get charged $0.05 for those. Okay, so that's it for today. I have some other stories to tell, but I'm going to hold off. I think everybody's already snoring. There's only 4 viewers left anyways. So watch the podcast or listen to the podcast. Go to the radio station. Go to that knowledge base.